My ex forged evidence to force me sign over my house. So, I helped her find new housing in jail. I'm 29. Growing up in a small town where everyone knew each other's business taught me the value of reputation and standing up for what's right. My parents, now in their early 60s, always told me that when someone tries to take what's yours, you've got to stand your ground. I just never expected to need that advice because of someone I once loved. The house in question wasn't just any property. It was my late Uncle Jack's place, a modest 3-bedroom ranch-style home in an older neighborhood. Uncle Jack was more than just a relative. He was my mentor, the person who taught me how to fix cars, who listened when I was struggling in high school, who showed me what it meant to be a man of integrity. When he passed away 3 years ago, he left me the house. It wasn't fancy, but it was home. I've been slowly renovating it, room by room, whenever I had spare time and money. The kitchen still had its original 1980s cabinets, and the bathroom needed updating, but every imperfection told a story. I had plans to fix it all up eventually, doing most of the work myself just like Uncle Jack would have wanted. A couple of years back, I met Qley at my friend Mike's summer barbecue 2 years ago. She was new in town, working as a real estate agent, and had this magnetic energy about her. She could light up a room with her smile and had a way of making you feel like the most interesting person in the world. We hit it off immediately, bonding over classic cars, though I later realized she was just pretending to be interested in late-night takeout adventures. At first, everything was perfect. She was spontaneous, always ready for an adventure. We'd take random road trips on weekends, try new restaurants, and spend hours talking about everything and nothing. My parents warned me I was moving too fast, but I was too caught up in the whirlwind to listen. Looking back, the warning signs were there from the beginning. It started with subtle comments about money. She'd joke about only dating guys who could provide her with financial security, but her tone always felt a bit too serious. Then came the demands for expensive gifts, designer bags, shoes, jewelry. When I couldn't or wouldn't buy them, she'd give me the silent treatment for days. My friend started noticing things. He pulled me aside at his New Year's party and told me Qley had been asking weird questions about my house's value and whether I owned it outright. I brushed it off at the time, but that should have been my wake-up call. About a year into dating, Qley started practically living in my house without any real discussion. She brought over her furniture bit by bit, rearranging my stuff without asking. The final straw was when she threw out my old college couch, the one Uncle Jack had helped me move into my first apartment. She claimed it was ugly and replaced it with some secondhand piece from her friend, but that couch held memories I couldn't replace. Then came the constant hints about marriage, but they weren't about love or building a life together. They were always focused on combining assets, putting both our names on the house deed, joining our finances. When I resisted, she'd manipulate me with guilt trips about not loving her enough to make her feel secure. Everything exploded 6 months ago when Qley demanded I sell the house and move somewhere more suitable. She had her eye on a McMansion in a new development, something way beyond my means and interest. When I refused, she showed her true colors, calling me cheap and unambitious. After a 3-day silent treatment, she came back acting sweet, but her real motive became clear. She wanted her name on my house deed. That's when I finally saw through everything. I ended it, and she left, but not before giving me this unsettling smirk that should have warned me what was coming. 2 months after our breakup, Qley showed up at my door with an ultimatum: sign over the house to her, or she'd file false abuse charges against me. She claimed she'd earned the house by spending time with me, as if relationships were some kind of real estate transaction. When I refused, she laid out her plan in chilling detail. She had already started building her case. She'd taken photos of old bruises from her kickboxing classes, planning to claim they were from me. She had a timeline written out of alleged incidents, carefully crafted to match times when I wasn't at work and wouldn't have solid alibis. She'd even started telling mutual friends about how controlling I was, laying groundwork for her story. That night, I told my parents everything. My mom was terrified, but my dad's anger gave me strength. "You fight this," he said. You fight it smart and you fight it hard. I found a lawyer through a family friend, and we started building our defense before Qley could even file her false claims. I installed security cameras with audio recording capabilities around my property, completely legal in our state since it was my property and I was aware of the recording. I bought a small voice recorder to carry with me and documented every interaction. I kept every text, every email, every voicemail where she'd hinted at her plans. Qley's attempts to forge evidence became increasingly desperate. She created fake text messages using an app that mimicked my phone number, making it look like I was sending threatening messages. She took photos of herself in my neighborhood, claiming I was stalking her. She even tried to doctor timestamps on old photos to support her timeline of alleged abuse. But she made mistakes. The fake text had grammatical errors I would never make. The doctored photos had metadata that didn't match her claims. Her carefully crafted timeline fell apart when compared to my work records and security camera footage. When Qley finally filed her police report, I was ready. She claimed I had physically abused her multiple times, providing dates and locations. But I had evidence for every single allegation. Security footage showing I wasn't home when she claimed certain incidents occurred. Work records proving I was on shift during other alleged times. Witnesses who could verify my whereabouts. Text messages from those same dates showing her making plans with friends, contradicting her claims of being injured. The detectives quickly saw through her story. The inconsistencies were glaring, and her evidence didn't hold up to scrutiny. But she wasn't done yet. Qley's next move was to forge a legal letter, supposedly from an attorney, demanding I settle our property dispute out of court. The letter was laughably amateur, wrong letterhead, no bar number, basic legal terms misused. My attorney confirmed it was fake, and we added forgery to her growing list of crimes. She started showing up at my parents' house, creating scenes and claiming to be the victim. My mother was so stressed she could barely sleep. But each time Qley acted out, she just gave us more evidence of her true nature. After months of investigation, the prosecutor had enough evidence to charge Qley with filing a false report, attempted extortion, and forgery. The case was solid. Multiple recorded instances of her threatening to file false charges if I didn't give her my house. Evidence of her forging legal documents. Proof that she had fabricated evidence for her abuse claims. Witnesses who could testify to her previous statements about wanting my house. Security footage contradicting her timeline of events. Watching her in court, trying to play the victim while the evidence mounted against her, was surreal. Her lawyer tried to spin it as a misunderstanding, but the judge wasn't buying it. When she realized she was cornered, she tried to claim mental health issues, but the evidence of premeditation was too strong. Qley ended up pleading guilty to forgery and filing a false report. The judge wasn't lenient. She got actual jail time. As my dad said, she wanted a free house so bad. She got one, courtesy of the state. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Word spread through our small town quickly. Some people were shocked. Others said they'd always sensed something off about her. Her reputation as a fun, outgoing person was replaced by the truth. She was a manipulative person who would destroy someone's life for property. Even from jail, she tried to manipulate me, sending letters begging for support for early parole. I tore them up. She'd shown no mercy when trying to steal my home and destroy my life. I owed her nothing. These days, I'm focused on healing and moving forward. I'm throwing myself into work at the auto shop and finally finishing those house renovations I'd planned. The kitchen is getting new cabinets, and I'm thinking about adding a deck out back, something Uncle Jack and I had talked about before he passed. Dating isn't a priority right now. When you've seen how quickly someone can turn from the love of your life into your worst nightmare, it takes time to trust again. But I'm not bitter, just wiser. The house means more to me than ever now. It's not just Uncle Jack's legacy anymore. It's a symbol of standing up for what's right, of fighting back against manipulation and lies. Every time I walk through the front door, I'm reminded that some things are worth fighting for. I learned that you have to be proactive in protecting yourself, that evidence is your best friend, and that when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Most importantly, I learned that my parents were right. You've got to stand your ground when someone tries to take what's yours. Qley's serving her sentence now, and I'm free to live my life. Sometimes I still can't believe how close I came to losing everything, but I'm grateful for the support system that helped me fight back. My parents, my friends, my lawyer, even the detectives who saw through her lies. They all played a part in making sure justice was served. The whole experience taught me something about strength I never knew I had. When someone threatens everything you hold dear, you find out what you're made of. I'm just glad I found out I was made of stronger stuff than Qley bargained for. As for the house, it's still a work in progress, just like me. But that's okay. Some things take time to get right, and some battles are worth fighting. At least now I can work on it in peace, knowing it's mine, truly mine, and that no one can take it away from me.